All right, let's jump into another deep dive. This time we're looking at Bitcoin, but more specifically, Bitcoin in Germany.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, and it's not just about the tech itself. It's about this woman, Joana Cotar.
Okay.
She's an independent MP in Germany, and she's really become like a strong advocate for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I've seen her name pop up more and more.
Yeah, she's really pushing for adoption in a country that, to be honest, isn't exactly known for embracing new ideas super quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Germany, they like to take their time.
It's like they're cautious, which I get.
Yeah.
But what's really fascinating about Kotar is she didn't like discover Bitcoin through like the usual tech route.
Right. Right.
Like it wasn't about, oh, cool new gadget or I'm going to make a ton of money.
It seems like it was more personal for her.
Way more personal. Her story is really tied to her experiences growing up in Romania under, well, authoritarian rule.
Yeah, that's a completely different perspective.
Completely. For her, it was about freedom, about individual liberty. And that comes from her past.
Makes sense. If you've lived through like real oppression, you value freedom in a different way.
Absolutely. Like her father was actually imprisoned for speaking out against the regime.
Wow.
And that really shaped her worldview, like deeply.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
It made her really distrust centralized power, and she became very passionate about individual freedom. And that's where Bitcoin comes in for her.
So we're talking about some pretty heavy stuff here.
Yeah, we are. But it's important, right, to understand where she's coming from.
Absolutely.
And the articles we have, they go into her life, her political work, and they give us a lot of context about how Bitcoin is viewed in Germany.
Okay, so we're going to try to connect her past with her present fight for Bitcoin.
Exactly. And see, is Germany missing out by not embracing this technology? I mean, it seems like there's this big disconnect between how Kotar sees Bitcoin as this tool for resilience and empowerment,
Right.
and then the skepticism from the German government.
Yeah, and even just like the general public there. So why is that? Like, why is Germany, a country known for being innovative, so hesitant about Bitcoin?
Well, from the research, it seems like there are a few key roadblocks. One big one is this misconception that Bitcoin is mainly for criminals.
Ah, yeah, the whole dark web association.
Exactly. It's like they're stuck in the past.
I mean, it was used for that early on.
It was, but it's evolved so much.
Yeah, but those first impressions, they can be hard to shake.
They really can. And it seems like policymakers in Germany haven't really caught up.
It does seem that way, yeah.
And then another big obstacle is the environmental impact, the energy consumption of Bitcoin mining.
Right, that's a big one that comes up a lot.
Yeah. But Kotar, she argues that Bitcoin can actually help with renewable energy.
Oh, interesting. How so?
We'll get into that a bit later,
Yeah.
but she's basically trying to change how people view Bitcoin.
Okay, so she's not just saying Bitcoin good.
No, she's saying, look, it can solve real problems.
Like specifically how it could benefit Germany.
Exactly.
Right.
And she's not just talking about it.
Yeah.
She actually brought Bitcoin experts into the Bundestag, like to educate her colleagues.
Wow. So she's taking it seriously.
She's totally committed to this, which is kind of amazing. It's like David versus Goliath.
It kind of is taking on the whole system.
But speaking of Germany and Bitcoin, there's this one move they made that really surprised a lot of people. They decided to sell off a huge amount of Bitcoin, like 50,000 Bitcoin that they'd seized from criminals.
Wait, really? 50,000? That's a lot.
A lot. And at the time, it was worth over 2.6 billion euros.
Wow, that's a crazy amount of money. So what happened there?
It seems like a mix of outdated laws and just like not really understanding Bitcoin's potential. They basically treated it like it was a problem to get rid of instead of an asset.
Like some hot potato.
Yeah. And Kotar, she was really critical of this, of course.
I'll bet.
She saw it as a huge missed opportunity.
Especially with, the U.S. talking about holding Bitcoin as a reserve asset.
Right. Exactly. She was like, Germany could have been a leader in this.
So she's drawing comparisons to the U.S.
She is. She's saying, look, even the U.S. is taking this seriously. Why aren't we?
It's a good point, actually.
But Kotar's vision for Bitcoin, it goes beyond just keeping up with other countries.
Oh, okay.
She thinks it can actually help with one of Germany's biggest challenges right now, which is their energy transition.
Oh, right. They're really pushing for renewable energy, aren't they?
They are, big time. And she thinks Bitcoin mining can be a part of that. And this is where her libertarian views and her like practical solutions for Germany kind of come together.
I'm really curious about that. How does that work?
Well, we're going to have to dive into that after a quick break, so stay tuned.
Sounds good.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about how Joana Cotar sees Bitcoin mining as like a potential solution to Germany's energy surplus from all their renewable energy.
Right.
It's pretty fascinating. But
Mhm.
but it's not just about the mining itself, is it?
No, it's bigger than that. It's really about education for Kotar. She gets that people need to understand Bitcoin before they can really accept it, you know?
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Like, how much of the resistance is just like people being scared of what they don't know?
Oh, I think a lot of it, honestly.
Not just in Germany, but everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And Kotar's answer to that is education, like actually getting financial literacy and blockchain stuff into the schools.
Wow, starting young.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
that future generations they aren't afraid of this tech. They can make informed decisions.
That's a long-term plan.
It is, but it's smart. It's about changing how we think about money and technology and power, really.
But I mean, getting Bitcoin into schools, that's a huge change. How does she think that's going to happen?
Well, she's got a multi-pronged approach, so to speak. She's not just waiting for the government to like make it law.
Okay.
She's working from the ground up too. Like she's talking to teachers, parents, even kids directly.
So like building that grassroots support.
Exactly. Workshops, talks, even made some kid-friendly educational materials, you know?
So she's really putting in the work.
Oh yeah.
But
Definitely.
it's not just about the kids either, right?
Yeah.
She's still trying to educate those policymakers too.
Of course. Of course. Do you remember those sessions she had in the Bundestag with the Bitcoin experts?
Oh, right.
That was about addressing the knowledge gap directly, you know, getting her colleagues informed.
It's like she's saying, "Hey, before you say no, at least learn about this thing."
Exactly.
Kind of reminds me of how people were scared of the internet at first.
Oh, yeah. Nobody understood it.
Right. And now look at it. It changed everything.
And Bitcoin could be similar, right? Change how we think about money, empower people in new ways.
But Germany's not the only country figuring this out, are they? I mean, what about the US? They're moving ahead with Bitcoin stuff.
Yeah, they are. And Kotar, she sees that. She's actually hopeful that the US taking the lead could push Germany to do more.
So it's not even about competition, really.
No, it's more like the world's moving in this direction and Germany doesn't want to be left behind.
But what happens if they do get left behind?
Well, there are economic risks, definitely.
Right. If the whole Bitcoin industry takes off and they're not a part of it,
Yeah, they could lose out on a lot of growth.
and what about geopolitically?
That too. Like as other countries use Bitcoin more for trade, for finance, Germany could get isolated if they don't adapt.
It's like a fork in the road almost.
Yeah, one path is innovation, becoming a leader in this new digital world.
And the other is what? Sticking with the old ways and falling behind.
Pretty much. And it's not just about economics, right? It's about values too. Like embracing decentralization that can mean more individual freedom for Germans.
Right. But if they reject it,
Then it reinforces the centralized control, the bureaucracy, all that.
so it's a choice between empowering people or keeping the power where it is now.
Yeah, it really comes down to that. And that's what's so interesting about Kotar's story. She's not just fighting for Bitcoin, she's fighting for these ideas for a more fair system.
It's inspiring,
Yeah.
honestly. But what about the rest of us? Like, are we just watching this happen?
Not necessarily. Kotar's like a roadmap. She says, if you want to change things, get active, do something about it.
But that's easier said than done sometimes. Like, where do we even start?
Well, education's a good place. Like we were saying, learn about this stuff, not just the tech, but what it means for society.
So, step one, become informed citizens.
Exactly. And then talk about it. Have those conversations, even if they're hard. Challenge what people think, share what you've learned.
So not just listening to people who agree with us.
Right. Get out of those echo chambers, like you said. And then remember that your voice matters. Support the people and organizations doing good work. Talk to your elected officials. Even just sharing stuff on social media, it all makes a difference.
It's like we're not just along for the ride with technology. We can actually help shape it.
That's the point. We have that power.
Yeah.
And that's what Kotar's story shows us. We got to be critical, informed, and engaged.
Okay, so to recap, educate ourselves, talk about it, and use our voices.
Yep. It's a simple message, but it's powerful. Individual actions can really change things.
That's a great note to end on. We've covered a lot, from this woman's personal story to, like, global changes in technology and power.
And it all comes back to this idea of individual freedom, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Well, stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll wrap up everything we've learned about Joana Cotar and what her story means for all of us.
And we're back. It's the final part of our deep dive into this whole story of Joana Cotar and Bitcoin in Germany.
It's been a journey, for sure.
It has. We've talked about technology, personal freedom, even energy, and how they all connect.
Yeah, and it's bigger than just Germany, right? Like, what we're seeing here, it's happening everywhere.
One thing that's really stuck with me is how Kotar links her own experiences growing up in Romania with her belief in decentralized systems.
Right, right.
Can we dig into that a bit more? Like, how does that connection work?
So growing up under that regime, it really showed her how centralized power can be abused, like how it can be used to silence people, control their lives.
Yeah.
She saw it firsthand. The government controlling the economy, censoring information, punishing anyone who spoke out.
So for her, it's personal. Bitcoin isn't just some tech thing. It's about fighting back against that kind of control. Exactly. It's about taking back power, giving it to individuals.
And that's a big part of her message, isn't it? This idea of individual empowerment. Like, Bitcoin can level the playing field.
Yeah, give people more control over their own money, their own lives.
And that's especially relevant in Germany, right? With their history of strong central authority.
Oh, yeah. Kotar's basically challenging that whole mindset.
It's like she's saying decentralization isn't just about tech. It's about changing who has the power.
And that scares some people, for sure.
But isn't there a danger in focusing so much on individual empowerment? Like, what about the role of government? Don't we need them for essential services, for protecting everyone?
That's a good point, and it's something Kotar addresses. She's not saying get rid of government completely, more like find a balance.
Okay.
Bitcoin decentralized systems, they can work alongside existing structures, give people more choices.
So more options, more freedom to choose, but not total chaos.
Right. It's about finding that middle ground where individuals have more say, more control.
And this brings us back to Germany's decision, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
will they embrace this change, this move toward decentralization?
That's the big question. And not just for Germany, like we said, the whole world's grappling with this.
Countries that get it,
Yeah.
that use these technologies, they're going to have an advantage, right? More investment, more innovation, happier citizens.
It's looking that way. And the ones that don't, they might get left behind.
So there's a real urgency to this. It's not just about Bitcoin, it's about what kind of future we're building.
And for Germany, it's about their role in that future. Will they be leaders? Or will they stick with the old ways and fall behind?
It's a big choice with big consequences.
It is. And it'll be interesting to watch how it all plays out. Will they rise to the challenge? Or will they, get stuck in the past?
We'll have to wait and see. But before we finish up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. This whole story, it's about more than just Joana Cotar. It's about all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you agree with her about Bitcoin or not, she shows us that individuals can make a difference. You can challenge the system, start conversations, push for change.
Absolutely.
If you believe in something, don't stay silent. Learn about it, talk about it, and take action.
The future isn't set in stone. We all have a hand in creating it.
And that's a pretty powerful thought, I think. So, to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned something, that you're challenged, and that you're inspired to maybe make a difference in your own way.
Well said. It's been a great discussion.